Breaking news! The Miami Dolphins just got a double dose of unexpected news, and it's something every Dolphins fan needs to hear. I'll tell you all the details, but first make sure you've hit the like button if you've been a Miami Dolphins fan for over 16 years. It's great to see fans of all ages. There are people here who have been bleeding green and orange for over 30 years. The utmost respect. Now, I want to ask you something. On a scale of 0 to 10, how would you rate Mike McDaniel as the Dolphins coach? Comment below. Now, let's talk about something that has a huge impact on the franchise, something that doesn't show up in wins and losses, but that matters a lot when it comes to attracting players, keeping morale high, and ensuring Miami is a top-tier NFL destination. The NFLPA report cards are out, and the Dolphins have done something no other team has managed to do for 2 years in a row. That's right, Miami is ranked number 1 in the entire league according to the NFL Players Association's report cards. That means when it comes to how the organization treats its players, its facilities, its coaching staff, its travel arrangements, and even its nutrition program, Miami is at the top of the list. And it's not even close. That's a big deal, and here's why. Players speak. Free agents take those ratings into consideration when deciding where to sign. If a player is considering Miami versus another team that has ownership issues, poor training facilities, or subpar nutrition, that rating can be a deciding factor. The Dolphins are proving that they're a top-notch organization, and when players see that, it makes Miami an even more attractive place to play, especially when you combine that with Florida's lack of a state income tax. But let's get into the details of these rankings because they are insane. Miami finished in the top 10 in every single category. Facilities, 3rd overall. Dining, 1st. Nutritionist staff, 2nd. Overall grades, all A's or A+ ratings. And perhaps the most shocking part of the report, Stephen Ross, the owner of the Miami Dolphins, was graded an A+ and ranked 1st among all NFL owners. Yes, you heard that right. Now, let's be real here. This doesn't mean Stephen Ross is suddenly the best owner in football when it comes to decision making. But it does mean that he's creating an environment where players feel respected, valued, and taken care of. And that's huge. If Miami can start translating this organizational excellence into actual playoff success, they're going to be a legitimate powerhouse. Right now, the only thing missing is winning in the postseason. Let's talk about head coach Mike McDaniel for a second. He also received an A+ grade, which might be surprising to some, considering that Miami still hasn't won a playoff game under his leadership. But here's the thing, players love playing for McDaniel. He brings an energy and creativity to the team that has made Miami one of the most exciting teams to watch in the NFL. Now, the next step is turning that excitement into a deep playoff run. But here's where things get even more interesting. This news about Miami's top-tier rankings is dropping right before free agency, and that could play a role in the Dolphins' ability to attract talent. One of the biggest needs for Miami this offseason? Safety. That brings us to the second unexpected piece of news. Tampa Bay Buccaneers safety Jordan Whitehead is hitting the open market. The Bucs have decided not to exercise his option bonus, meaning he's now available for any team that wants him. Whitehead is coming off a rough season. He battled injuries, including a car accident in early January that limited him to just 12 games in 2024. But despite the setbacks, he still managed to snag 4 interceptions last season. So, should the Dolphins target Whitehead in free agency? On the surface, it makes sense. Miami needs 2 starting safeties, and Whitehead is a former Super Bowl champion with starting experience. But when you dive deeper into the numbers, there are some serious concerns. First, his coverage numbers have been rough. In 2024, he allowed a 72.4% completion rate and a quarterback rating of 113.8 when targeted. Those are not great numbers, and it shows that he struggled when forced into tough coverage situations. However, to be fair, Tampa Bay's entire secondary was a disaster last year. Antoine Winfield Jr. was out for stretches, and Whitehead was asked to do a lot more than he normally would. He's more of a physical, in-the-box safety, not a guy you want roaming deep in coverage. Now, here's the real question. Would he be worth signing at the right price? Because if Miami could get him for cheap, maybe in the $4 to $5 million per year range, he could be a solid depth piece or a low-end starter. But if the Dolphins are serious about improving their secondary, there are better options out there, including Julian Blackmon and Andre Cisco, who might cost a little more but bring better coverage skills to the table. At the end of the day, Whitehead isn't the game-changer Miami needs, but if the market for safeties gets saturated, he could become a bargain signing. That's something to keep an eye on as free agency gets closer. But now, I want to hear from you guys. What's your reaction to the Dolphins being ranked number 1 on the NFLPA report cards? Do you think this actually helps Miami attract free agents? And as for Jordan Whitehead, would you sign him, or should Miami look elsewhere for safety help? Let me know in the comments. And if you want all the latest Dolphins news and updates, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because we'll be breaking everything down as free agency approaches. Now, let's keep this rolling, because there's more to unpack when it comes to the Miami Dolphins and their offseason moves. We just talked about the NFLPA report cards and what that means for the franchise. We also broke down Jordan Whitehead as a potential free agent target. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because the Dolphins have some major decisions to make over the next few weeks, and these choices could define the 2025 season. One of the biggest questions right now: how will Miami rebuild its defense? We already know the Dolphins need help at safety, but that's just the beginning. Miami's secondary is in serious trouble, and it's not just about losing players, it's about the uncertainty surrounding key starters. Let's talk about Xavier Howard, the longtime Dolphins cornerback, a fan favorite and a cornerstone of this defense for years. But now, it looks like Miami is prepared to move on from him. Reports suggest that the Dolphins are expected to release Howard before March 13th, when his contract guarantees kick in. This means Miami will be losing its best cornerback for nearly a decade and a player who helped define this defense. Now, Howard's decline in recent years has been noticeable. Injuries have piled up, and his coverage numbers in 2024 weren't great. But even with that being the case, losing him leaves a massive hole in the Dolphins' secondary. Right now, Miami's only proven cornerback is Jalen Ramsey, and while he's still one of the best in the game, he can't do it alone. Miami needs to find another high-quality corner either in free agency or the draft to keep this defense competitive. And speaking of defensive concerns, let's talk about the pass rush. The Dolphins' defensive line took a hit when Jaelan Phillips suffered a torn Achilles late last season. This was a brutal injury because Phillips was in the middle of a breakout year and was looking like a future superstar. Now, his timeline for return is still uncertain, and even if he does make it back early in the season, it's unlikely he'll be at full strength right away. To make matters worse, Miami also has to make a decision on Bradley Chubb. Chubb had a strong season before suffering his own serious injury, a torn ACL in Week 17. That's 2 key pass rushers with major injuries, and no clear answer on when they'll be fully healthy again. So, what does this mean for Miami? They need to add another pass rusher. Whether it's through the draft or free agency, the Dolphins cannot go into 2025 without depth at edge rusher. If Phillips and Chubb aren't ready to go, or if they struggle to regain their form, Miami's defense could take a huge step back. And here's the thing, the Dolphins can't afford to have a bad defense in 2025. Not when they're trying to keep up with teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, Baltimore Ravens, and Buffalo Bills in the AFC. The offense is explosive, but they need a defense that can hold its own if they want to make a serious run in the playoffs. Now, let's shift gears for a second, because there's one more huge storyline developing in Miami. What's going on with Tua Tagovailoa's contract? We are officially in contract extension territory, and this is where things get interesting. Tua is entering the final year of his rookie deal, and the Dolphins have to decide whether they're going to commit long-term money to him. And don't forget, subscribe and turn on notifications, because we're going to be covering everything that happens in Miami. From free agency signings to draft picks to contract extensions, we've got you covered. The offseason is just getting started, and it's going to be wild. Go Dolphins!